Hello and welcome back to the course. So in the last session we learned a lot about different data types, and now we are continuing to increase our tool set and get familiar with operators. So operators allow us to have interactions between objects, and in this sense we are getting closer to work on real-world problems where we have many interactions and relationships between objects. In this session we also get familiar with the special data type of Booleans. But for now, let's start with arithmetic operators, and actually we already know most of them, and this part here is more or less a repetition. First of all, we have three variables. We have a equals 5, b equals 2, and c equals 7. And we know that we can add two integers, so a plus b gives us 7. We can subtract two integers, a minus b gives 3. We can multiply a times b, gives us 10. We can divide a divided by b, gives us 2.5, so this is a float object. And there's another operation called floor divide, so it's so here we have two slashes actually, and if we run the cell, so we have a division here, and then actually we round it down to the next integer, in this case 2. And we can also have an exponentiation, so a to the power of b gives us 25. And there's an operator modulo. Let's run the cell here. Modulo gives us the remainder of the division a divided by b. So let's check a divided by b here. 5 divided by 2 is 2, and the remainder is 1. Alright, so let's head to comparison operators. And as before, we assign some variables. And then what we are doing, we are comparing is a equal to b. And you have to be careful here, it's a double equal sign. So a single equal sign would actually assign a equals b, but a double equal sign checks if a is equal b, and it returns a true if a is equal b, and it returns a false if a is not equal b. So here we have a is 5, b is 2, so I would expect that we get a false. Now the next operation, a exclamation mark equal b. So what this operation does, it actually checks if a is not equal to b. So we know here a is not equal to b, so it should give us a true. Then we have the less sign. So the less sign checks if a is smaller or less than b. And we would expect a false here. And we have the greater than sign, and this checks if a is greater than b. I would assume that we get a true. And we can also do more complex operations, so we can check if a plus b is less or equal than c. So a plus b is 7, c is 7, so c is less or equal than 7. That's true. So now before the operators, they give us true or false as a result of the comparison. And true and false, they are both special data types called Booleans. And if we check the type of true, it gives us bool for Boolean. And we can also check what true stands numerically for by transforming true into an integer. And true always stands for 1. And we can also transform false into an integer, and false always stands for 0. And we can do it the other way around. We can transform an integer into a bool object. And let's try it with 1. So this gives us a true. And also, if we transform 5 into bool, this gives us also a true. And the rule is each integer or float that is not equal to 0 gives us a true if we transform it into a bool. So the only number or integer which gives us false if we transform it into bool is 0 actually. And we can also check the mathematical behavior of true and false by applying arithmetic operations. So we can calculate 5 times true. True stands for 1, so we would expect 5, and that's true. And we can also make an addition, so 5 plus true gives 6. And let's try the same with false. So 5 times false returns 0. And we can also assign a Boolean object to a variable, so that's no problem. So 5 equals 2, that's false, and we assign false to the variable d. And d is now stands for false. And we can also then make operations on d. So 5 times d stands for false, gives us 0. So earlier when we learned about lists, we learned that in a list we can actually store each data type or object we can think of, and this holds also true for a Boolean. We can put a Boolean into a list. So now let's execute the list L. So in the list L there's a integer 1, 2 integers, there's a string cat, there's a float object 1.5, and there's a Boolean object true. Alright, so let's go ahead with the logical operators. So and the first one is AND, and this is so-called logical AND. And what a logical AND does, it checks if all conditions are true, and only if all conditions are true, then we get a true. So true and true gives us true if both are true. So that's easy here in that case. Now it's getting a bit more difficult. So we have two conditions, 5 greater than 2 and 7 greater than 2. So we know both conditions are true, then we should get a true here. And in most cases, the AND sign works in the same way. So there are some minor cases where it doesn't work, but I don't want to go into detail here. So true and true gives us true. And also 5 greater than 2 and 7 greater than 2 give us true. So let's go ahead with true and false. So we only get a true if both statements are true, but obviously false is not true. Now we have 5 greater than 2 and 7 less than 2. So obviously 7 less than 2 is false, and not all conditions are true, so we should get a false. And also false and false will give us a false. And 5 less than 2 is false, and 7 less than 2 is also false, so we should get a false. Okay, let's continue with the logical OR. So logical OR checks the statements, and it gives us a true if at least one condition or statement is true. So if we have true or true, that gives us a true, because at least one condition is true. So here are both conditions true. Alternatively, you can use the pipe symbol for OR. So in the very most cases, this also works. So it depends on whether your keyboard is American, English, or European one, where you can find the pipe symbol. And also with the type symbol, true or true gives us true. And also 5 greater 2 or 7 greater 2 gives us true. True or false gives us also a true, because at least one condition is true. And this is also the same with 5 greater than 2 or 7 less 2. So 5 greater 2 is a true statement. So this gives us true. And false gives us a false, because no statement is true here. And last but not least, we have the not logical operator. So the not logical operator simply reverses true and false. So if we have actually false and say not false, it's true. So that's quite easy. And not true is false. And last but not least, now we have a bit more complicated example. We start here with this bracket. 5 greater 2 is true. Not true is false. False or false gives false. And then here outside the bracket is not, so not false should give us true. So that's it for the operators, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we see us in the next session about conditional statements, if, elif, else, and while. So see you. Bye.